Shalom, everybody. Welcome to Tanya Outside In, Perek Lamed Daled. Um, so in Lamed Gimel, the Rebbe basically introduced the purpose of the purpose of everything, which he calls Dir B'Tachtoinim, and that is in Lashon Kabbalah we call that the Yichud of Kudsha B'Rich Shchintei. It's the same thing. He just gave it a more kind of approachable name. Um, and it's the idea of bringing the Ribono Shel Olam down into this world, which means doing Torah and mitzvahs lishma. That's how you bring the Ribono Shel Olam down into this world. The method that the outer um the outer guise is Torah and mitzvahs, and the inner the our the real we have to it's about serving Hashem Lishma, and he brought from Habakkuk Tzaddik Manasseh Yichya, that's the whole Torah. Tzaddik Manasseh Yichya, meaning that we're doing Torah and mitzvahs for him, Yisbarach. That's the point. Okay, so Lama is going to go a little bit further on that idea. Just give it a little bit more color, I think. Okay, Perek Lamadad. V'hinei, Mudah Zois. Accordingly, Sha'avois hay or know this. Sha'avois hein makova. The avois were called the makova. A makova, the point of a makova, the concept of the makova that we speak about a lot, is um, that if everybody looks outside their window and looks at their car now, you would hope that your car is just sitting there and it's not doing anything at all. I know nowadays, you can press buttons and your car will come to you and stuff. But basically, your car, which is a Markova means a chariot, but it just means a vehicle, um, it just sits there until you're involved with it. You are the Ratzon that motivates your car. Yeah. So the others were called a Makova. Shekol Yemehem, their entire lives, Le'olam lo yifsiku afilu sha'achas melakasha da'atam v'nishmasam le'ribono olamim bebitl hanal le'yichudo yizbuach. That they were utterly, they never stopped. They never, there was no interruption ever, not even for a moment, of the hiskashrus of their das, which is meaning their they were identified um, with it. Well, to say identify with the Shem, we'll explain that in a minute. Better to say something else. The Nishmasim and then a Neshama with a Shem, with such a bittul that gave them the name of Makava, because that is what a Makava is. A Makava is completely bottle, meaning it has no Ratzon of its own. Liyichudo Yizbrach, to the Yichud of Hashem. That's a massive statement there. Um, they were utterly bound up in the fact that Hashem Echad, that there was no self-service, there was no even hint to a personal agenda by the Avos. No hint whatsoever. To say that they were identified with Hashem, I don't think that's the right way to say it. I think we learn from last week's Parsha, which was Tetzaveh, with the tzitz. Yeah, the tzitz went on the forehead of the Kohen Gadol, and on the tzitz it said Kodesh LaHashem. The inyan of the forehead And well, the Indian of wearing something on the forehead is the concept of I suppose intellectual identification, for want of a better way of saying it. When you wear the helmet that you wear is an identification, or the hat that you wear is an identification. So something on your forehead is considered your identity. And the identity of the Kohen Gadol, who is the paradigm of Jew of a Yid, on his head it said Kodesh LaHashem, which means he's not identified with Hashem because, well, you can't really be identified with that. We see your the point of being married is to actually become identified or merged with another person, where you actually become one. But you can't that's different to your identification with your football team. Your identification with your football team is really identification with a mental construct that you have of your football team. You can't be identified with an actual football team. You can't be identified with an actual car. You can't be identified with some physical object. You can't be identified with a thing. You can only be identified with the thoughts that you have about that thing. So when we talk about knowing our wives, yeah, that is exactly the avoider of going beyond all things and actually connecting to the person, as we've spoken about endlessly over the past however many years. So what is it that the Jew should be identified with? Because you can't be identified with God himself, because then you're turning him into a thing. Like you wouldn't say you identified with your wife. You're merged with your wife. That's a like a holy identification. The identification on a mental level, that's not a mental identification. Your identification with your wife is not a mental identification. In fact, the whole avoid of being married is going beyond mental identification. You marry your wife because of X, Y, and Z. Yeah, she's attractive, she's kind, she's a good cook, whatever it is that turned you on in the first place. Yeah. So those are mental identifications. That's the same as your identification with your football team. Exactly the same thing. The whole avoid of being married is going beyond that, and you've got, hopefully 60 odd years to do that, where you actually manage to get through all of that stuff, and there's just a person there. So to call that identified, it's not, it, it is,
Uh,
but it's not really the way we use the word generally. So how can you be identified with the Shem? That's the whole avoider. Yeah, that's where we're trying to get to know Hashem, to become one with Hashem. So what's the Yiddish identification? This is Murdik. You identified it said it on the Kohen Gadol's forehead. Yeah, that's what it said on his forehead. Kodesh LaHashem means I am identified with belonging to you, Hashem. That's an amazing thing to know. That's why the first two parshas in Kriya Shema are all about the Bechor and belonging to the Ribbono Shel Olam. Because that's what we're meant to be identified with. We're meant to be identified not with God. Yeah, that's on a soul level that's taking place, and that's the avoider of bris milah, really, which means removing all false identifications. But on a practical seichel dika level, the avoider identification is to identify as belonging to him. Do you hear do you hear the profundity of that? That's truly mind-blowing. Our identification is that we belong to Hashem. So we're not identified with Hashem, we're identified with being a possession of His.
mhm.
So that gets us out of the problem of turning Hashem into some kind of mental construct. he still remains undefined. So you're identified with belonging to him. So who's he? I don't know. I just know that I belong to him. We bypassed the danger of we bypassed the danger of having to give him some kind of form. So that's what that's what the that's that's what the and what does it say? What does it say in Picquiaos? It says Hamisha Kinyonim Konoloy Kodesh Baruch Hu Ba'olamoi. Five possessions, Kinyonim, possessions, Hashem was koine for himself. Ve'elu hein, Torah, Kinyan Echad, Shemaim Va'oretz, Kinyan Echad, Avram, Avraham, Kinyan Echad, Yisrael, Kinyan Echad, Beis Hamikdash, Kinyan Echad. Yeah, that's the final Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. The one but final Mishnah of Pirkei Avos. אז אברהם קניין אחד מניין דכסיב ויברכהו ויאמר ברוך אברהם לקהל עליון כהני שמיים וארץ. Avraham belonged to the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's how we need to. That's how we need to relate to ourselves. We belong to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Zot Hashem. V'achreihem kol neviim, and after that was the avos. Yeah, they were the markova, because like a markova, it if you'd say to your you know turn around to your car and say to him, like, what are you? And he would say, well, I'm Shmuel's car. That's his whole identity. That's all he is. So you say, why did you just sit there? Why don't you go and have a good time with your friends? He said, what do you mean? I'm just here for Shmuel. When he gets in me and decides to drive me, then I do it. That's what it means, a Kinyan, that you belong. Like we've said, in a different context now, but the idea of the printer who doesn't want to print doesn't want to print your file for you. Yeah, we said that's a chutzpah. But talk to the printer who's, the healthy printer, and say, so why are you just sitting there? Why don't you print a little bit? You are a printer after all. And he'll be, well, I belong to Shmuel. If he wants to print, I print. Otherwise, I just sit there. That's the concept of a kinyan echad. That's the concept of a kinyan. V'achayim kol neviim, and after the avos, all of the neviim, kol echad lefi medregas nishmasa v'hasagasoi. And all of the Nevi'im, according to their level, the level of their soul, the level of how they understood things. The Madrega's Moshe Rabbeinu hi ha'oile al kulanu, and the Madrega of Moshe Rabbeinu was beyond all of them, but he wasn't called an Av. Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't of the Avos. He's of the Shevaroyim, but he wasn't of the Avos. There's only three Avos: Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Yeah, they were the Avos. So Moshe Rabbeinu was the greatest of all prophets, but he wasn't one of the Avos. It's an important point. His Madrega was the highest of all the Madregas. His Hasaga was the highest of all the Hasagas, but he wasn't one of the Avos. He oilel kulanu, she'amu oilav shchina medeberes mitoich groinoi shel Moshe. That to the point where the Shechina will speak from him, from his mouth, from his throat, meaning that Moshe was a product of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Meaning that the Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, the Avos, that's why they're called the Avos. They gave birth to Am Yisrael and to all of the Nevi'im, including Moshe, who went even above the Avos. But he was never an Av. He just went above in in the Madrigas he went in his neshama, the level is neshama, the level is hasaga, and that meant that he was it was but he was a continuation of the Avos. It was a Zach Yisrael b'mamad haSinai, and it was this Madriga that Am Yisrael as a nation was zeicher to when we stood at Har Sinai. Rak shlo yochlu lispo k'mamad Razal sha'al kol dir b'pircha nishmasim, but we weren't able to maintain that Madriga. Yeah, when we hit that level, we just we we merged back into the Ribbono Shel Olam. Pircha Nishmasa means that our neshamas jumped out of us and we died. Yeah, it means we merged back with the Ribbono Shel Olam. Shu inyan bittul b'metzias hanal. That's an inyan of bittul b'metzias. Bittul yesh means I belong to you. Bittul metzias is that I has has gone. I don't even believe, I don't feel I belong to you anymore. There's just you. That's Bitterman Matthias. And that, by a normal human being, by us, by Muhammad Sinai, we went back into Hashem. Yeah, Moshe was able to kind of hold that frequency as a living person, and so were the others, but we weren't. ולכן מיד אמר להם לעשות לו mishkan, and immediately, because of this kind of logistical issue, the fact that we couldn't contain that level of bittul because we were in this battle, yeah. Hashem said, okay, so make for me the mishkan, and this is the whole inyan of the mishkan, and this is the whole inyan of of the deeper Madrega. The Mishkan was made out of wood and skin, like it was dead. It was made of dead material. Yeah, but the and therefore it could actually contain the Ribbono Shel Olam. It's a very deep idea. The base of Migdash that went an even deeper Madrega was made of stone, of marble, etc. And that's an even deeper, what's the word? That is an even more profound level of being able to contain Hashem because because doimem the life of doimem, the life of inanimate is so small that it appears to be an independent reality. When you go up a level from doimem to tzomeach or to chai or medaber, yeah, if tzomeach doesn't get sunlight and water, it stops being. And kol v'chomer with chai and medaber. But doimem appears to be completely independent. It doesn't need any kiyum from anywhere else. It doesn't need anything to cause it to be. That's what it appears like, yeah? That's very similar to the Ribbono Shel Olam. That's a just like Hashem is not dependent on any other force, so to Doimem, which is the lowest level in this world, in this sense is the highest level in this world, because it's a moshel for Hashem's independence, the fact that he doesn't depend on anything. That doesn't exist by Tzomeach. By Tzomeach, there's it depends on sunlight and on water. And Chaim Medaber. By Doimim, so anyway, this is the Inyan of the Mishkan, yeah. Shu Inyan Miyad, and therefore L'chein Miyad Amar Lehem. He said, Hashem said to Am Yisrael, La'asos lo Mishkan Uboy Kodesh Kedoshim, and he made the Mishkan, and within the Mishkan was the Kodesh Kedoshim La'sha'ash Chinasoi, and in there he was Shoyreh his Shechina. So it was like Moshe was the Mishkan in a sense. That's why he was a conduit for the Shechina. Yeshu Gilui Yichudo Yizbuach. What is the Shechina? The Shechina is the Gilui of Hashem's Yichud. Shechina is the revelation of Hashem's Yichud. Meaning like, you know, Lahavdil, Donald Trump yeah, if you were to like see him in, if just see him walking around the golf course, yeah, by himself, there's no Gillowy of his power. He's just another guy, a bit taller than the average man, maybe, but he's just another guy. Yeah, where do you see his power?
Mhm.
You see his power in the fact that behind him, walking behind him, is the is all the ministers and
No,
all
it's the
the
White House.
what?
It's the White House. I mean, all this pomp and ceremony that surrounds a man like that is his power.
And exactly. Well, it's not. It's the Gilui of his power. You're
Right,
right. His
right,
power
right.
is his power isn't like the power of the tzaddik is of him. Yeah, Donald Trump's power is of it's borrowed. You're right in that sense, but still, the revelation of his power is in his armies and in his houses and in his property and in all the stuff that goes along with him. Yeah. That's in a sense, lahavdil, elef alfa, elafim havdalas, the Shechina. The Shekhinah is like the lowest level of the Ribbono Shel Olam, which therefore is the Gilui of the Ribbono Shel Olam. You're revealed when you go up into higher levels of the person. That's not a revelation. That's already contained within him. The Shekhinah
Mhm.
goes out. That's the concept of Malchus. That's why it's called Malchus. That's what Malchus is. Donald Trump's Malchus is the White House, the ministers, the army, etc., etc. Yeah, that's his Malchus. The United States of America, the organization we call the United States of America, is Donald Trump's Malchus. Yeah. So Hashem's Malchus, that's called the Shekhinah. That's the part of him, so to speak, that is compatible with this world. It really is this world in a sense. But anyway, okay. Shugilu Yehuda Yisbrach. Kamosha Kasav Kaman, Kishmachayev Beis Hamikdash, that as we write later, when the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, Ein LaKadosh Baruch Hu Bo'ilamoi, there was no, Hashem didn't have any place in his world, Bo'ilamu, Mishkan, he didn't have, or Machon, he didn't have a, a Mishkan or a Machon, yeah, a place to stay. By the way, look at the words Mishkan and Machon. What's the connection between those two words? Two letters. Chain with a chaf. Ken. We've given lots of shit about this in the past. What's so holy about the word Ken? Kafnun. No, 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 Yitzi. That's chaf. That's another very holy word. But Ken, yes, that's what a rock says. She says, yeah, I am. Yeah. There's nothing about me to speak about, just Ken. Ken. Yeah. That's yes or no. That's binary. That's the
Mhm.
concept of the doimem. It just is. Whereas as we go up, it is something more. Although also doimem has something more to it. But that's the concept of Ken. Ken is just one of the things you can say about Hashem. The first thing you can say about Hashem is that he is Ken, as opposed to lo. Yes, as opposed to no. That's the Indian of something now being compatible with the Ribbono Shel Olam. This absolute, it's an absoluteness, just is. That's absolute. There's no madrigas to that. You can't be more is. You just is. You just are. That's it. So that's the Indian of Mishkan and Machoin. Yes, l'shivaso to his dwelling, who Yehuda Yizbrach. Ela arba amos של הלכה שהוא רצון יזבח וחוכמתו המלובשים בהלכות הארוכות לפנינו. That after the base of Migdash was destroyed, yeah, where was Hashem's dwelling place, which is to this day the same thing? The Arba Amos of Halacha. Arba Amos, what's the Indian of Arba Amos? 4 by 4 is the minimum size for a base dira. Yeah, that means a dwelling place. What's the connection between halacha and and the word ken? which is like doimem.
What? It's it's one and the same. I mean, it is. Halacha is what it is.
So I'm not sure if you're saying I'm not. What you're saying is right. I'm not sure if you're saying the same thing as what I'm saying because you could go on a lot of tangents with that. What I just asked. The in this bechina, the connection between halacha and the word ken, which basically means the connection between halacha and doimem, yeah, something that just is this statement: Who can put on tefillin better, me or Moshe Rabbeinu? Who can put a mezuzah on their door better, me or Moshe?
The one and the same.
On the level of the halacha, on the level of doing the halacha lemaisa, it
Oh, okay.
is or it isn't. You've got hida, yeah. There's hida mitzvah, but there's the b'di'evad level of you need to do the actual. Did you do it? B'di'evad, it was done, done.
Mm-hmm.
Done.
Mm-hmm.
There's no levels to the doneness. The level when it comes to the levels of kavana, yeah, then there's endless madrigas, and you could never compare me to Moshe. But on the level of the actual Maisa mitzvah, just is done, and that's why Hashem can dwell there because there aren't levels. It just is,
Wow.
just like
Nice.
Hashem just is.
Mm-hmm.
Moed. ולכן, אחרי שיעמי כאדם במחשבתו בעניין ביטול. Once a guy really delves into the concept of bittul hanal, as we spoke about before, however you want to, about the screen with the graphics, how the screen never changed, so really you're not nothing, you're nothing, how the words come from the essence of the person and inside the person, that's where they came from, but you can't point to them there. Just like the ray of sunlight, which is down here, you can look at and point to and measure. Yeah, when you go up and trace it to its place in the sun, you can't find it because it's completely subsumed within the sun. Yeah, that's you. That's you. And every time we choose our own agenda over Hashem's agenda, which doesn't have to be an available, by the way, it can just mean you're being egoic. Yeah, we are denying that reality. So once a person puts some energy into this, and that does take energy and intelligence, kviya cholosoi, according to his intelligence, however he's able to. Zois yoshiv al libo. This is what he has to kind of bring to his heart. Ki mioz katan sichli v'shos nishmasi. Now this is like a converse is it a soliloquy? Is that the word?
Mm-hmm.
When you have
Correct. You speak yourself.
yeah, this is the soliloquy of the of this guy who the Rebbe is talking to right now. He says, "Key miyos katan sechli v'shos nishmasi." Okay, my brain, I don't have such a great intellect, yeah, and I also don't have such a holy neshama. It's not the highest of the neshamas, yeah. To be a genuine um, a genuine vehicle for
Yes.
Hashem's yichud, like
Mm-hmm.
Moshe was. Like we said, because at Har Sinai, we all vanished. We couldn't tolerate that. We couldn't tolerate that yichud, so we just vanished. So because my neshama is not so great, it's not so high, and because my intellect isn't so powerful, yeah. Therefore, I can't be this ultimate markava like the Avos or like Moshe, be'emes la'amitoi. Me'achat eleis machshava dilei tfisa, maseges boy yizbach klau v'klau shuma saga ba'olam. I can't have any kind of in my lowly state. Everything that I'm talking about Hashem and any grasp of him that I have, it's all so teeny. Not even a drop of what it was by the big, by the big Anshe Tanakh, yeah. Even so. I will make myself a dwelling place for the Rabbeinu Shalom, who ha'esed b'talmud Torah, kafi ha'panoi sheli, through my involvement in learning Torah according to how much time I have available. Kvias itim biyom v'layla, and I will set times. By the way, kvias itim is a high level of bittul. Kvias itim means, 9 o'clock, 9 a.m. till 10 a.m. You're learning Torah. Yeah, doesn't matter what else is going on. Life stops. I stop. That's a very big level of bittul. Yeah, so like we've learned there's kavir shiurim like daf yomi, or like what we do with all the yom yom things. Yeah, which is great. But it's not as powerful. It's better for getting stuff done, to be honest, but it's not as powerful as Kovea Eatim. Because when you're just, when you're doing Daf Yomi, you probably have a certain time of day when you do it, but maybe you didn't get to do it. So you fit it in around, you'll fit it in. So how battle are you? You're doing it, that's already Kavoldik, yeah? But it's not like Kavias Eatim, where you actually stop. Kvias Eatim, שנייה, ביום ולילה, קדש אנשים לכל אחד ואחד בהלכות Talmud Torah, as we explained in the halachas of Talmud Torah, Kamama Mazal, as Chazal said, afilu perak echad shachris, even if you just learn one perak in the morning, one perak in the evening, which is Miramas to Kriya Shema. If there's a Yismach Libo, by the way, that's one of the things about tefillah is that's koveya itim. Uveze yismach libo v'yagel. He should be very happy. Yeah, v'yitein hoida al chelkoi, and he should give thanks on his portion. B'simcha v'tuv leivav, in a joyous way. Al shezoch liyois, in that he is zoiche to be ushpizchan legvura. He is zoiche to be a host for the Rabbeinu Shloim. That is what you are meant to say thank you to Hashem for. Not that, I got another mitzvah. I just got a mitzvah. Yeah, stick that in my pocket and I'll take that with me to Gan Eden. It's that you were zoiche to become a vessel for the Rabbeinu Shloim. That is unbelievable. It's like, ask a friend of mine told me a story about a guy in I think the airport in Heathrow, where they have this very, very fancy whiskey shop, and he spoke to the guy. There was a rumor that someone bought, I think it was like a 20,000 or 100,000 pound bottle of whiskey, something crazy. It was a huge amount of money. I think it was much more than 20,000. I think it was like 100,000 pound or something like that. And he opened it there and then, and he finished the bottle with whoever was in the shop it was gone in about less than 5 minutes. Yeah. So my friend asked the guy in the shop, he heard this rumor, and he asked this guy in the shop in the Heathrow, I think it was, and the guy said to him, I was there, I saw it with my own eyes. He told him how much it was, and he spoke to the guy afterwards. The guy had just closed some kind of property deal worth over $1 billion, and as a out of just pure simcha, he just threw away a huge amount of money. But just that was a side point. Imagine how privileged that glass would feel to be containing, liquid worth $100,000 if the glass had any kind of mind, compared to having some coke in it. Just that's lahavdil. That's what we're saying here. Yeah, pa'amayim b'chol yoim. Yeah, twice a day, kafi ha'ez v'hapanoi shaloi, according to the time and his spare time, I suppose, shaloi, that he has. K'meses yadoi asher hachiv Hashem loi, that Hashem grants him. Meaning the time that you have to give to Hashem, and you can now be involved in Torah mitzvahs, you become a keli to the Rabbeinu Shloim. That's what you should be giving thanks for. Not that I got a mitzvah. It's a deep humility to say that I was zoicha to be your host. That was the words exactly, host. Ushpizchan. Ve'im yachiv Hashem loy oid, and if Hashem gives him more time, as I tell you, time Yosef Omer, then that's great. His hands are pure. He's gonna increase his energies. Umachshava tova, and whatever he, even if he can't do it, he just has the thought to do it. Gamsha hayom kulo, then great. The more time he has for avoidance Hashem, the better. Yeah, but now he pivots, and the Rebbe turns it back to us because in those days, not many people didn't have the luxury of going to kollel. Yeah, so the Rebbe now talks to us, the ones who are working. Listen to what he says. This is one of the most important ideas in Tanya. V'gam shah hayom. For the regular people, that the rest of the day they are involved in business. Yeah, machon yihye machon l'shvaso yizbrach. He can be or the time will be a place of a receptive place to Hashem's dwelling. Benesinas tzedakah sheyite migo, that migiyoi, that in the giving of tzedakah from the money that he earns from his effort. How so? Shima midasav shel Kodesh Baruch Hu. This is the midah of Hashem. Mahu rachum v'chulei. Just like he's rachum, he's merciful. You should be merciful. Just like he gives tzedakah, you should give tzedakah. Mashkas v'tkunim chesed v'yamina. That the right arm is chesed, and even if he only gives 20%, yeah, that 20% brings up the other 80% that he didn't give. Yeah, that's what a percentage means. That you give. It's not like right now we're doing mechzes a shekel, yeah, where everyone gives half a shekel. That's different to when you give a percentage of your wage. When you earn $100 and you give 10% of that to tzedakah, you're not giving $10. You're giving 10%. That means you are shaving 10% off every cent that you earned. That means that all of that money goes, that all of that money becomes a resting place for Hashem, because that 10% is a, so to speak, what's the word? A spokes. That $10 is a spokesman for the $100. So every cent of that is a spokesman for, is that a dime? Is that 10 cents?
Yes.
Is it, so every cent is a spokesman, so to speak, for every dime. And every tenth of a cent is a spokesman for every cent. Meaning that $10 that you're giving, because it's a percentage, raises up the entire everything. But listen, this is what he says here. So now he's yeah, K'may Merazal, as it says, yeah, mitzvah tzedakah shekula keneged kol hakorbanos. That the mitzvah tzedakah is weighed, is like equal to all of the korbanos. Shebekorbanos hayakor chai oile laHashem alidei behema achas. Because with korbanos you raise up all sheep get raised up by giving one sheep. And every little measurement of flour raises up the entire world of the tzemeach, of the vegetable world. מלבד זה, הרי בשעת הטובה תפילה אוילה להשם, כל מה שאוכל ושוסה ונהנה מהבידויס לבריאוס גופוי, כמו שכתוב לכמה. And like in also, don't forget that the money that is left over for you that you spend on the money that's left over that you spend on food and living, when you learn Torah and daven and do mitzvahs, yeah, all of that goes up as well. So, but this is the important thing, is that all that money that you earned $100, yeah. You realize that $100 was actually a not a transformation. It was a um, how to say that? That $100 was the work that you did. Let's say you're a photographer, yeah? So you took you that $100 was actually in was given to me for the photography that I just did. So really that $100 is the photography. What's the word? It transformed. There's a better word for it, I think. But my 10 hours of photography that I just gave someone, that got transformed into $100. You with me?
Hmm.
Now I take off the 10%, I give 10% to tzedakah, and like we just said, that's makadesh, the whole $100. But what was the $100? The $100 was really my photography, which is all my thought, speech, and action. So I just raised a huge amount of reality up to the Ribbono Shel Olam. You hear that? That when you work, yeah, your money, your work gets transformed into money. That's what work is, yeah? So now I've transformed whatever the work was, which was my creative talent, my thinking, my hard work, my energy, my breathing, my food, all that kind of stuff, yeah? That got transferred. What's the word? Not transferred. What's the word when it gets changed into something?
Transformed,
Did I say that before? Transformed?
maybe.
I think that's the right word. Anyway, it got transformed. That work, which is my thought, speech, and action, got transformed into money. That money now I take a portion from. So you realize what happened is that I now transformed that 10 hours of photography into a dwelling place for the Ribbono Shel Olam. It's not just the money. The money just represents the yagia, the thought, speech, and action. That is the source, is what that money got transformed, is what got transformed into the money. So this is the Heiligkeit. If you ever need to give somebody chizuk about working, yeah, we don't really do that in the world we're in. You just tell them that, oh, halavayud, or at least you're supporting Torah. Halavayud be you're in kollel, yeah. But the Rebbe is saying something different here. The Rebbe is saying that in your giving of tzedakah, you are makadish the 8 hours that you spent in the office doing whatever you did. That
Wow.
gives a Shem. That's called a dwelling in the lowest place in your thought, speech, and action. V'hinei b'kol prate minei smachos hanefesh, and all the different kinds of simcha that the soul can have. Hanal. Ein mehem, and now he flips over a little bit. In all of the with all of these simchas that the soul can have that we've just been speaking, this is another way of generating simcha, is knowing that you are a dwelling place for the Ribbono Shel Olam. Yeah, ein mehem mania liyois nevaza be'einav. This isn't this doesn't prevent you from feeling despicable in your own eyes. V'nimas v'leiv nishba v'ruach nemucha, and feeling lowly and revolting with a broken heart and a low spirit. B'shas simcha mamash. At the time of simcha mamash. I so need to hear this. Me'acha ki hiyoisoi nevaza be'einav hu mitzad guf v'nefesh bahamis. Because that part that is lowly, that you're feeling lowly from, that is the guf and the nefesh bahamis. V'hiyoisoi b'simcha hu mitzad nefesh lakis. And the simcha is from the side of the nefesh lakis. V'nitzut ze lakusa melubush ba, which is the God Himself, which is enclosed within the nefesh lakis, lachiosa, that gives it life. Canal, but perek lamed aleph ukai gavna is the Gemara is written in the Gemara. B'chiyat kia belibi mesitvedah, that crying is lodged in my heart from this side. V'chedvet kia belibi mesitvedah, and simcha is is stuffed, is lodged in my heart from this side. I'll tell you that this is why I just said I needed to hear this, yeah, because right now I'm in a I don't feel good about myself, yeah. For whatever reasons, not I'm not living up to my expectations, let's say, yeah. And I don't feel good about myself. And um I have a book of Chedushay Torah, and it's sometimes, sometimes Chedushim flow, and then it can go for months and months where they kind of they eke out, eke a teeny little bit, yeah. So I'm feeling in this place right now in myself for a lot of different reasons, like not Lev Nishba, not Ruach Nemucha, yeah. And today I managed to sit down and learn for a few minutes. I hardly nowadays my learning has gone down to like zero, not zero, but very, very little. And I had about 3 hours to learn today, Baruch Hashem. And I my hand was aching from Chedushay Torah. Be- And I'm realizing that feeling of lowliness. It needs to be balanced. There needs, like he's just speaking about here, there needs to be tremendous simcha. Yeah, absolutely. And I can't do that. I'm not balanced with that. When I'm feeling low, I'm low. That's it. I don't have simcha in the other side of my heart. I just feel shach and ruach nemucha. But I know because I just saw again today, and it happens all the time. Whenever I do something wrong, or whenever I lose, what's the word? I lose credibility in my own eyes. Yeah, I become, in a sense, more of a conduit for the bonus Shalom. Because feeling good, feeling like you're the man, like look how good I'm keeping promises, I'm there for everybody, I'm pushing myself, I'm the man, yeah? Then Hashem doesn't have a place to enter because you're the man. Yeah, the man. Do you hear what I'm saying? I don't know how to. I don't know how to do this. Yeah, I don't know how to do this. But I do know that feeling of ruach nemucha is kodesh kadoshim. But there needs to also be that feeling of tremendous simcha. I don't know if anybody. You hear you got what I was saying a little bit?
I
Yitzi looks
don't.
frustrated. What?
No, I know. I didn't get it. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm saying that when you are meant. I mean, look at me. Yeah, look at
I
me.
heard you, Rabbi,
I'm,
by the way. Just to
I'm just
balance it out, I heard you.
what?
I heard you, by the way, just to balance out the other
Okay.
side.
I'm look at me. I don't like the way I eat. I don't like the way I talk. I don't like the way I'm just this, I'm just a very lowly human being. Yeah. Mitzad my ego, all that stuff. Yeah. Mitzad my nefesh elokis. Yeah. That's God Himself. The essence of my neshama is the Ribono Shel Olam. So so the simcha is that I'm here for you. Not that look at me. And when we do feel that, and it's a problem, if you're learning all the things that we're learning and you are actually an impressive human being and you're making and keeping promises, you're a man of your word, you're a force for good in the world. You can look in the mirror at night, give yourself a pat on the back and say, because of you, the world's a better place, yeah? Well, and that's all I'm teaching everyone right now. Yeah, that's everything. That's all because everyone needs to get there. And then once we are absolutely human, now we have to recognize what it actually means to be human, which is actually very lowly. And realize, and then when that is the place, and that's called ruach nemucha. Yeah, it's not like it's not depressed bichlal, it's not depressed. It's called ruach nemucha, means it's a disillusion, it's the ego's gone. The ego's not there. That's what happens to me when I break a promise to myself, because I keep my promises generally. So when I break a promise to myself, I feel like the dirt underneath my feet. Yeah, I feel disgusting. But then when I see that, then I see that that davening flows and Chedushay Torah flow and the Nefesh Elokis starts to go through. So it's I don't know how it works yet. I'm learning. Zvat Hashem. Do you hear? I don't know how to balance this. I don't know how to have the
Is there? Are you trying to? I mean, to bring from the beginning, because you told us that we want to have this feeling of belonging to Hashem. Is that the simcha we want to have?
Yeah. The simcha has to be belonging to Hashem, being a dwelling place for Hashem. Just what's it to do with you? Nothing to do with you. When your simcha is, look at me. I make and keep promises. I'm a dependable human being. I'm on time. If I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. Yeah, I'm giving my time to the oilam to help everyone else get better. Yeah, I'm here for my kids. I'm doing all these things, and then now my simcha is not because I'm a dwelling place for God. It's because I'm the man.
Okay.
That's a prerequisite. You have to get there, but once you've gotten there, now you have to realize that all that is what is that? Great, you make
it's a catalyst for you to go to the next level. You need to get to that space to go to the next level.
That's the point. That's the baseline. Like if you're really pathetic, and just feel pathetic, then maybe that's that's not. I don't know if that's a holy thing. That just means
No, but wait. I think you have to roll it back a little bit. It's not pathetic. It's pathetic at a certain level because you already achieved a certain high level. Now you realize, that level I'm at now, even though I worked and I aspired and I conquered that moment, that level, that space. Now I have to go deeper.
No, I'm not saying that. I hear what you're saying.
Then I'm missing it. Then I'm really missing it as well.
And the opposite is now I got it.
You got it, Itzi?
Now we flipped.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to say is that it doesn't matter how we're talking about moving beyond humanity. We're talking about no matter how impressive your human kite is, no matter how impressive it is, it's just human kite. It's just human.
That's the Kaylee.
Yeah.
That's the Kaylee. That's what you have.
But so I'm saying, so the simcha isn't coming from that. That should be in your side, in the way the Rebbe says it here. That should be a place of crying. That should be ruach nemucha. You should feel lowly because of your human kite, not because your human kite is unimpressive. Just because of your human kite, no matter how impressive it gets, that should feel lowly to you. And the simcha should be from the neshama that you are that lowly human kite is a place for the dwelling of God. Which meaning the simcha is not coming from myself, bichlal, which is the exact opposite of everything I'm teaching to everybody in the blessed life. You realize that it's the exact opposite. I'm trying to tell people you're not happy, you feel like a schlepper. Yeah, that's because you're a schlepper. Yeah, start making and keeping promises and you'll start feeling good about yourself. And that's true. But we're talking once that's in place, all of that now should feel lowly. And the simcha should be coming from the fact that, like Yitzi said, I belong to you, or I am a vessel that you can dwell in. Not that I'm anything. It's a very high. It's again. I don't know how to do that. We're learning this together. But that's chapter 34. I hope that made some sense.
Shmuel, can I circle back to just one thing? I'm sorry, just to go back to one thing.
Yeah.
Just on the Mishkan versus the Beis Hamikdash and the dirt versus inanimate. You said the lowest appears, the lowest, the rock, the stone, the marble. It seems independent like Hashem, and then I didn't and you were kind of comparing the two. They both are they both seem independent, and then I'm not sure where you went from there.
The rock, just like the rock. I mean, rocks, how long do rocks last for?
Forever.
Yeah. How long do trees last for?
Not forever.
A long time, but not forever. How long do animals last for and humans last for?
Even less.
Yeah, exactly. So in that sense, a rock in that sense is kind of eternal. That is in a sense a moshel for the Rabbanu Shalom.
Okay.
That's something that a rock has in common with God that we don't.
Okay, and therefore, what does it have to do with the Beis Hamikdash versus the Mishkan?
That was a higher level. The base of Migdash, which was stone, was a higher level than the Mishkan that was made out of plant life, basically, and skins of animals.
Okay, I guess I have to go back to understand what your
It
point
was
was
it
of
really
saying that.
I probably shouldn't have even mentioned it. It was a bit of a side point, a very big side point. But anyway, yeah, quick word